So, right. Well, let me start by.
You start.
I'll start. I obviously remember you starting golf, academy golf.
2017.
Yeah, 2017. It's a long time ago.
God, we went down there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Me and a few others. I don't know. Have you still got some of them?
Some of them have now graduated into members.
Other things.
Members. So that's good. So then you had a little bit of a
tiff.
A tiff
with a vehicle on holiday last day.
Okay. So can you
Apparently most holidays, and try again, most accidents happen on the last day of a holiday. Stats have proven it's like 90%. Right. Don't know why, but that's what happened. Okay.
So can you tell me the story?
Yeah, of course. We were on holiday. I'd worked incredibly hard that year. At the time I worked in Odeum for Strachan Parker, a very well-known property company. I was selling high-end property, sort of $500,000 plus to the rich and famous, so I'm very conscious of, what's the word, keeping it all very quiet, privacy, that kind of thing. And it's a very high pressure role, exchange completion. You know, moving house apparently is one of the most stressful things you can do. So I really needed a holiday, Steve, and we finally got a weekend that we could all go away to visit my eldest son's family in Norway. Because my eldest son, who's called Tom, who's 28 now, has been seeing Hilda for a long time, and we wanted to go and meet her family because we hadn't really met them in Norway. So off we went. We found a time to go that we all could make, my husband, myself, Tom, Hilda and his parents, her parents. And we'd had a brilliant time. We'd had a sort of 6-day holiday. And the very, very last day, we decided, or rather, Hilda's parents decided we had to go and see a field, because you can't go to Norway and not see a field. So off we went. We had a lovely time. We'd had a bit of a light sort of pub, in inverted commas, lunch. Very strict drink drive rules in Norway. So Lars, who's Hilda's dad, had had a coffee, probably a large double espresso coffee, but nevertheless a coffee. I'd had a beer and a sarnie. Everyone else very light, you know, and in fact we've all got it documented on our iPhones, because that's what you do, don't you? You take a photo, a family photo, last day of our holiday. Fantastic. So I think, you know, if I need to, I can produce that picture if you need it. At 15:31 on June the 12th, 2019. It's kind of emblazoned in my brain, because that was the last photo that was taken of us before the accident, which was, we think, probably about half an hour later. And here we are, Steve, practically a year later.
Right.
And a few things have happened in between.
All right. Can you tell me about those
few God,
things,
I don't
if it's
know,
not too painful?
I don't know quite where to start, other than we were involved in what the medics call a near-fatal road traffic collision. There is a difference between an RTC and an RTA, apparently. RTA being a road traffic accident. We were in a collision because of two cars bashing each other.
So it was a head-on?
Almost, in that we were here, the other guy's coming this way. My Lars was driving like that, so I'm in the back here. Can you see that on your thing? I'm here, Lars is driving, the others are coming, so he's swinging that way to avoid them, and they're coming, and they basically get me in their huge people mover, because it was a young family, daddy and mummy and 2 kids under 6 or something. I don't know all the details. It's all actually a bit under the thing because the case is still going on of negligent driving, not us. That's all I can say at this point. And I came off very badly. My son came off pretty badly. We were all in different hospitals. They airlifted us all because, you know, Norway's not a big country. It doesn't have many hospitals. And the whole of Norway basically shut because this is the one main road. I went, I think, to Trondheim. I think my husband went somewhere else. My son and hopefully future daughter-in-law went somewhere else. They were released the next day. They kept them in for observation. My husband was there for a few days, but I didn't really know much about this at all because I was in an induced coma for 2 weeks while they fixed me, because the whole of my right side had taken a bit of a battering. And that's really what happened. It's not good in a road traffic collision. And it's not good when the surgeons say life-threatening injuries. That means I did, in fact, they called time of death after 28 minutes of trying to keep me alive, which is quite a long time. Anyone who's done CPR for 28 minutes will know how long that is. So anyway, cut a long story short, I've been in 4 different hospitals over the last 13 months. I've had numerous actual surgeries, procedures. Forget COVID, you know, what's that? I've been tested for COVID at least a dozen times. I've had a reversal of an ileostomy. Anybody who's had one of those will know what that means, a reversal. I had a shattered femur, which is your big thigh bone. It was a cannonball fracture, which they fixed with several rods. So I'm actually a very good conductor. If one has a radio on, I'm a very good conductor. You do not need an aerial if you put it near my leg. Which I think is quite funny.
So you'll have fun going through airports now?
Oh Lord, apparently they've used incredibly lightweight titanium, like, do you get titanium golf clubs?
Yeah. Drivers are made of titanium.
Exactly. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Is that all right, Steve? Sorry, I can't lift it. My left hand's still a bit funny. Permanent pins and needles, which is because of my neck breaking. I suppose I should say about the neck. I think it was more the CPR that did the neck rather than the crash. So C5 and C6 are in your cervical, your spine, because it's all got different names as it goes down. The disc between C5 and C6 was pulverised, and I had an operation, a very long operation to fix it in St George's in Tooting. A fantastic guy called Matthew Crocker fixed my neck, and he put in what he called scaffolding. Do you remember when you were little and you had Meccano? Mm-hmm. That's what he's put in my neck, and you can feel the bumps at the back. And he was very clever with the stitching. You can't see it because he used my neck creases to stitch into. So I'm a woman of a certain age, Steve. I do have neck creases.
Right. Which were helpful.
Very helpful. But he was very clever to do that because, you know, he's that kind of guy. He's a very nice man. He came to see me afterwards. Am I allowed to talk about this?
Yes, absolutely.
He came to see me afterwards, and this was the 1 year I'd applied for and got centre court tickets for men's finals day at Wimbledon. And bearing in mind this crash was in June, I'm in St George's now. I think it's July the 3rd or something, I don't know, very close to Wimbledon finals day. And dear Mr Crocker, or Professor Crocker, whatever he is, came to see me and said, "Mrs Williams, how are you feeling?" Doing the empathy thing, which they're all meant to do now. And I said, well, I'm feeling a bit...
You were like, goodness, darling.
I said, I'm feeling a little bit knackered, but I'm very disappointed. I don't think I'll be going to Wimbledon because I've got centre court tickets for the men's final. Of course, the men's final is always on centre court.
It's like floating around the 18th.
The men's final's always on centre. We can always edit it. The men's final's always on centre court. And he said, "Mrs Williams, with the best will in the world, I don't think you're going to be going to Wimbledon this
You're very welcome.
Because Steve, I was lying there, couldn't walk, could barely talk, couldn't feel, couldn't do a thing. And I'm all hooked up to every machine you can think of, and he's just fixed my neck. So I don't think you'll be going to Wimbledon."
Oh, lovely.
So I do laugh about it now, but at the time I was very confused because I had effectively a stroke from the brain bleed that they didn't know I had at that time.
Right.
So just to give you a feel for what happened in that car.
So how long were you actually in hospital?
In George's or hospital generally?
Hospital generally.
I'd say over the last, say, call it 12 months. It's very difficult because I've been back so many times for appointments. I'd say probably 60% of the time. A rough calculation, I'm not very good at sums.
So the first, obviously from the accident.
Yeah, the accident, I was in the coma in Trondheim. Then they airlifted me back here. Apparently it was a Learjet. I was on a Learjet in the luggage rack, not aware of being on a Learjet, which is very sad because I'd quite like to, you know, go on a Learjet properly next time.
Yeah,
but this
with
was
some champagne. Would be
well,
nice.
quite. But this was all on the insurance. We had very good insurance. My husband used to work for a bank, and you have very good cover, thank the Lord. So anyway, got me back here. I went, first of all, I think I went to the Royal Surrey in Guildford, and it was only there that they discovered the neck because I was doing rehab, Steve. We know about rehab. And the lovely physio called Tim was making me do my exercises lying prone on the bed, and he asked me to lift my head. So when I went to lift my head off the pillow and it was a bit sore, I screamed apparently, and he said, "Right, don't move," because he knew what to do because he's a physio. So they get the neck collar and isolate the neck and all the rest of it. And he obviously was very, very good and saved potentially further damage because it could have been really nasty. Because at this point I had what's called an incomplete spinal injury. What do they call it? SCI, spinal cord injury, and I was an incomplete. A complete is when it's severed. Mine was just very, very badly bruised because of the accident. But even badly bruised means you can't move or walk or talk properly or remember anything. So anyway, he isolated my neck, and that's when Mr. Crocker came and fixed it, which is why I had to go to Tooting. Then I came back to Royal Surrey for more rehab. Poor old Tim, I don't know, it probably traumatised him dealing with me. And I then did lots more in the gym with various brilliant physios called Stephanie and somebody else. So I was doing physio and occupational therapy and everything to get my hands working again, because my hands weren't working. I couldn't do a shoelace, I couldn't hold a club, I couldn't do anything. I could just about read a book and use the iPad to keep an eye on the cricket, because I was trying to keep an eye on the cricket. Ben Stokes et al. Winning the whatever they were winning. I think it was the 2020 World Cup, all this time last year, pretty much. And the long and the short, Steve, it was just one hospital thing after another. And finally, I was waiting for a bed at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in Stanmore, which was the real rehab. This was only pretend rehab in Royal Surrey. And finally they had a bed ready, so I went, I think it was at the end of September. Yeah, because I've kept a diary pretty much every day of everything I've done, so we can check it all back later if you need to. And anyway, off I go to Royal Surrey. In the meantime, I've been let out and go home for exeat weekends, which was very good for your morale. So off I go to Stanmore. Serious, what they call boot camp. Serious. I am the daughter of a Royal Marine Commando, and anyone who's done the Lympstone course for their Green Beret will know what boot camp means. You just don't stop. There's 24 hours in a day. I was probably sleeping about 5 hours. The rest of the time I'm either rehabbing, eating, or trying to recover from the previous rehab. I've got the schedules of all the stuff I had to do. Gym work, learning to walk work, actual physical lifting of dumbbells, boccia that we talked about, curling, all the indoor sports that Paralympic people do. At this point, I'm just trying to stay alive, you know. This is flipping October after the crash, which was in June. So 4 months after the crash, they've got me doing all this. Which at the time, I just did it because you do, to try and get better. But you think back and you think, that's an awful lot, really. And I was having to teach myself how to have a shower, brush my hair, wash my hair, get dressed, put my kit on, all the contraptions they give you, which are brilliant, by the way, to help you walk again. Those gloves I was wearing earlier to wheel myself up and down. I told you about the heaviest wheelchair in the place. I was very, very cross about that afterwards when I realised what they'd done to me. It was to build up your biceps and your triceps. And although I don't have any stamina at the moment, I am actually very, very strong now. I wasn't then, but it was all designed to fix me and all the other people. There were lots of other very famous people there, and that you're not allowed to take photos because of privacy thingamybobbies. There was a very famous golfer, bless him, from Essex, who was all in the news last year. I can't say who it was, but he had what's called a complete spinal fracture. His cord was gone. So he'll play golf again, but not as he was used to playing it. I think he was scratched. 24, you know. I am so lucky. I'm 59 now. I've got 2 gorgeous boys who are also very good golfers, by the way. But at the moment they're concentrating on cricket. And I have a husband who likes to think he's a good golfer, but, you know, men think that, don't they?
Absolutely.
He could probably be quite good. We need to get him down here, Steve, but that's for another day.
That's for another day.
And all I can say is I've been extraordinarily lucky with all the medical professionals who've looked after me, the family that have looked after me, and I include my extended family, who are my friends and my extended family. And of course, Blackmoor. You know, Blackmoor has been fantastic. Plug, plug, plug. But you were great beforehand, and here I am again, rehab, because golf is so good for rehab.
Absolutely.
Especially with the injuries I sustained, I think that's the word. Because it gets my torso working, it gets all those muscles, and oh my God, I'm going to pay for it. I can feel it already. But it's got me doing what I'm doing just a year after that.
Well, we've just completed our third session. The first session was a little putt
Oh dear God,
and a
yes.
bit of coffee.
And Andrew Griffin.
Andrew Griffin.
Don't forget Andrew Griffin, he's very important.
Which was wonderful.
It was over there. Because he's got something on video, if you remember.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You might want to pause it for me. Yeah, he was very proud he got something on video.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the first one, which was very good. And then last week we went out for our first session, and I could not believe how well you managed to hit the golf ball. In fact, you didn't miss it once, which I thought was...
I duffed it a few times.
Duffed it a few
Come
times,
on.
but you hit a few good shots.
I hit the guys in the trolley, or the thing that picks up the balls. That was great.
Yeah.
We finished on that, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, we've just completed today.
Yes.
I have to say, last week I thought your line about the fact that you were starting to hurt, and obviously some of this is muscular. For me, I need to obviously understand how far we can push you.
Well, that's why you need to speak to James
Which
Shooter.
I need to speak to your...
To James.
To your guy that's the personal
He'll be
trainer.
delighted to speak to you.
I need to do that. But I've never ever had anybody finish a golf lesson and say, yeah, that's hurting a little bit, but do you know what? Oh, I've forgotten to take my morphine this morning. That's a line that I think will always live with me.
Well, that's basically people will know that as something called Oromorph, or indeed if you have children, Calpol.
Okay.
It's all morphine based, but it's basically a very strong painkiller. And when you are doing what I'm doing, to the extent that I am being pushed by Mr. Clay, you need a dose of Oromorph or 2. It's not very much. I literally have about 5 ml, which is nothing. It's a small teaspoon.
Okay.
But boy, do you need it, especially
Yes.
when you've had a session here.
Yeah. We'll leave it at morphine.
Should we leave it at morphine?
I
Okay.
think we'll leave it at morphine.
Okay.
Now, obviously, the progress from this would be just nice to
Just
get
want
you
to
to
actually
continue to
play a
hit.
hole.
Yeah, well,
be good.
that's what we need to do. I need you to do the exercises that we were talking about today. Get you stronger.
Much stronger.
Get the golfing muscles stronger. Obviously, once I've talked to your physical trainer, then we can liaise and go from there. And then obviously the ambition is to get you out on the golf course. And
That's my next goal.
Playing some holes out on the golf course, which...
Because we've worked out, Steve, haven't we? We're just taking little steps.
Correct.
We've got a big plan and a big picture, but we're not thinking about that right now because of horrid things that might happen, which we're not going to discuss, like second spikes. We're not going there. We are working on it session by session.
Yes.
And that's how I've approached the whole thing, because otherwise I would have gone completely bananas.
Yeah. Well,
Only
for me,
slightly
as a
bananas.
coach and somebody that's been teaching golf for a lot of years, I have to say I enjoy a challenge, and I enjoy, shall we
I'm a
say,
project.
a project. I think
I am a
you're
project.
one of my latest projects.
Oh,
and,
Steve, I'm privileged and proud to be a project.
And it will give me the greatest of pleasure to get you out on the golf course. And it must be how do you feel with this? Obviously, physically, this is obviously going to help you, and I would imagine mentally as well.
Yeah, I would excuse me. This is not COVID. This is just a runny nose because it's very windy today. I cannot emphasise enough how good golf is for somebody like me. Brenda and I were talking about it. Lovely Brenda, who's been there before and after, by the way. She gets a name check. When you don't run anymore, which I don't, when you can just barely hold that club, to be able to come here and swing it and make contact, that first day was just astonishingly good for my mental health. Forget the physical, just for my mental health. When you think I've been in and out of hospital for a year, not able to even come out to see you, I cannot think of a better sport to rehab somebody who's had the injuries I've had. It works every part of your body. It relies totally on hand-eye coordination, which I've always had, as you know. But we all do, don't we? Even as babies, to crawl and to walk, you have to have hand-eye coordination. It's just how far you take it. And I do remember when Griff videoed me that first time. Do you remember I was stopping the ball like I was playing hockey?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
It just came back. And I think we call that muscle memory. And if I can just wake up all these muscles and they can try and remember, we will get there, Steve. I just want to play a couple of holes next time. That's my goal.
Yeah, well, one
We'll
thing
see.
that we could obviously do in the past is take you out with a buggy and things like that.
Oh,
And
I
of course
know,
that's-
but I don't want to be an old person on a
That's
buggy.
a problem. So, in fact, I
don't want
think it's a good thing that we're not going to use a buggy.
I
We'll
really
actually
don't
it.
want to do
We'll
that.
actually do it, and we'll walk around.
Yes, because I understand buggies are good fun. I have worked on a buggy. I have been on a buggy, but that was with girlfriends when we were in a competition and we had to get from A to B very quickly, and it was pouring with rain, and we were allowed buggies because it wasn't too churned up. This was years ago, by the way, in Worcestershire, and that was fun. And we also had a load of kit, and we had to get, as I say, we were in a competition, and you had to literally get around because it was one of those with the horn.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called? Roll-ups or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a while.
Shotgun start.
Shotgun, thank you very
Shotgun
much.
start.
See, I can't remember all these things. And that's the only reason I would be on a buggy. I do not want to be on a buggy just to get from A to B. This is not me. Which is why I'm here now and not lying on a bed somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. And,
I'm a project. Oh dear God.
Yeah, you're a project. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, and hopefully we can go from there.
We want a medal, don't we, Steve? I just want one medal. I don't care what colour.
Yeah.
Well, I do, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, knowing you as I do, it'll have to be gold.
Mm-hmm. We've got plans.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.